Beautiful fans, really nice RGB. So much room up top, check that out. We could mount a whole nother unit if we so desired. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm gonna be checking out the Cooler Master HAF 700 EVO. I did receive this product to review, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product, you wanna find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. You can see the retail box and packaging right here. Check it out. This thing is massive, 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 and that's an understatement. This box definitely takes 2 people to carry. That's how large it is, and you can see it's actually bigger than my torso. So this case is all about airflow and cooling. I really like the tagline, air to the throne. You may notice too from the product photography that we actually have a customizable LCD assistant on the front panel as well that we can use to display our system or game statistics. Now let's go ahead, let's open this up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents besides the case itself. So first up, you may notice we have a really nice and thorough user guide and manual walking us through the contents as well as the front IO and buttons. Then you can see some nice inspiration as well too, depending on how you want to configure your build. They give you some suggestions. And then everything else walks us through settings like removing the panels and configuring it for hard drives or motherboard. If we want to have a vertical GPU mount, we can. So depending on 3.5-inch drives, 2.5-inch drives, they have so many configuration options for you and your storage needs. Then you can see we make our way into some of our radiator and cooling options. So a lot of suggestions there. Space. Just think about space with this case. That's really what it's going to come down to. They also have some ARGB settings here with the hub, so you can get that set up properly, and warranty information in the back. Next, we have our toolkit, as I'm calling it. We have all of our screws and cable management options right here. Really like that we get this nice plastic case. And then next up, you can see we have our master accessory box. So that's all the contents that you see right here come in this box. First up, our user manual walking us through how to properly install our GPU vertically if that's what we want to do. They give you everything that you need, and you can see all those parts and pieces right here. So first up, we have our PCIe 4.0 riser cable. So that's really nice. You can see our 2 brackets for it. So we have everything here, as well as all of our screws that we need to get our GPU mounted. Now let's go ahead, let's look at the case. Now you can see the case right here, check it out, everything looks great. First, let's look at it from the front. So you can see we have a beautiful front panel right here with our display and all of our IO options. Now let's go ahead, let's take the front cover off. Now you can see we got the front panel removed. This thing is heavy, heavy, heavy. First up, if you want to see inside the front panel, check it out. Everything looks great, how everything connects and powers right in. Very nice design. And then you can see on the front of the case now with the panel cover removed, we can see all of our exposed IO options and our 2 dual 200mm cooling fans. Now you can see the top of the case right here. I had to lay it down on its side because it's so large. We can't even fit it all in one frame using the overhead camera. So you can see what the top of the case looks like right here. Now let's go ahead, let's remove it. Now we got the top removed and you can see plenty of space to work with to mount our radiators and coolers. Now you can see the case from the front right here. So we have our tempered glass panel on. Let's go ahead, let's remove it so you can see inside. So I just can't get over the size of this case. I wish there was a way that I could actually fit into it. That would be quite the video. But I'm seeing 3 additional fans, bringing our total to 5. The 3 fans that I've seen here are all 120mm Sickleflow fans. We have 1 down at the bottom and 2 serving as exhaust. You may notice too, we don't have a power supply shroud down here or anything like that. Due to the enormity of this case, we can actually just install our power supply directly behind the motherboard, which I really like and think that's really cool. Plenty of cable management options right here. You can throw whatever size motherboard you want into this build. Check this out, so much space. Now really quickly, I wanted to show you the overhead view so you could see the top half of the case and then we'll look at the bottom half, but we have our 2 Sickleflow exhaust fans right there. Look at all the clearance and headroom we have up at the top. This is unbelievable. That's why we can cram so many radiators and cooling options in here. And if you want to do any sort of custom water cooling, you have so much room. This is unbelievable what you can mount to and what you're able to fit in here. Again, you can see where the motherboard's going to go, all the cable management options that we have here. Again, basically just about any size you want for the motherboard, no issue with this case. Then you can see our third Sickleflow fan at the bottom. We have plenty of room to add at least 2 more fans right here. Now let's go ahead, let's look at the backside. Here's a look at the backside. The attention to detail is top notch. We have a really cool honeycomb design cut out so the case can continue to breathe. Typically, you'll just see a really boring, solid panel on the back of most cases, but not with this one. Now you can see what it looks like with the panel removed. Check this out. We got some cable management channels coming along the side and the bottom. We have plenty of room to mount multiple hard drives right here. This looks great. And we have a removable cover so we can easily route and manage our cables from our power supply directly to the motherboard. Here's the overhead shot of the top of the back of the case. So check it out. We removed that center cover. Very easy to do, just like the hard drives. You're just going to twist it to the unlock position. Then you can see you can slide it out and away. So I really like that design. Super clever. And I like that it's toolless, tool-free. You can see our channel and routing options right here with our different hubs and controllers. So they have your LED all set and ready to go for you with your ARGB too. So whatever you want with your fans, LEDs, ARGB, they have the hubs for you. And we have all of our cables from our front I/O right here ready to go to fish through as we see fit to get our PC built. And down at the bottom, let's go ahead, let's slide it down. You can see where our power supply unit is going to go right here tucked away in the back. Now looking at the back side of the case, you can see the layout right here for everything and how it's configured. Power supply, expansion, if we want to do a vertical GPU, our motherboard, our 2 exhaust fans, and some additional ventilation. Lastly, let's look at the bottom of the case right here. We have 4 massive feet that support this behemoth. And you can see we have a good solid gap of how far this is going to sit off the bottom of our floor, which is great. So it can allow some air to move through here for cooling. And we have a nice removable filter that we can access from the front panel, so we don't have to tip this over to the side or anything like that. Lastly, at the bottom, you can see right here a nice grip handle for how we use and pry off the front panel. Really easy to do right there. And I want to point out with that front panel design, what's great is we actually have some hooks up at the top that keep it in place. So when you do pry off the bottom, it's not going to fall off the top before you're ready to grab it and safely remove that front panel. So really well designed and a nice, solid, sturdy base. Now it's time to build. All right, so you can see we got the PC built. Everything looks great. Now let's go ahead. Let's look at it up close. All right, here's the build up close. Check it out. The first thing you might notice, you might see me in the mirror right here. So this mirror is removable if you want. There's 2 screws on the back side up top, and then it just pulls out from the bottom. I really like it though, so we're definitely leaving it. Then you can see front and center, we have our Master Liquid PL360 Flux on top of our Intel 12400. You can see the triple radiator and fans right there. Look at how cool that is. Beautiful fans, really nice RGB. So much room up top, check that out. We could mount a whole nother unit if we so desired. Then we have our 2 exhaust fans, followed by triple fans down below. So you can see those fans right here. So this does come with the 3 Sickleflow fans that you see here, with 1 fan configured down below and the 2 used as exhaust. I went ahead, I added 2 additional Sickleflow fans. If you purchase these fans separately, I noticed that the cable is not as long as the ones that are included with this case. So I took the 2 that were included with the 1 at the bottom, kept them all down here so we could have the longest cables possible to reach our hub in the back so everything could connect. And then we had just enough cable length with these 2 units that you can purchase separately to make it to the hub as well behind our motherboard. So if you don't do that or you want to configure it differently, just make sure, depending on the fan that you're using, that you have some extension cables to make sure you can power everything accordingly. Look at how nice it looks. We got our MSI RTX 3070 Ti. You can see our beautiful MPG motherboard from MSI. The Dragon does light up on its own. It has its own RGB right here. We also have some additional RGB down below for the Carbon logo. That also lights up. Can't forget about our Corsair Dominator RAM. This is so bright. It looks so good. I love seeing it from the top and from the sides. You can see how all that RGB shines through. Got the nice A1 logo right here. I really like that this motherboard has that indicator for us for code so we can check the status of our build and system. As you can see right there as well too with our LED indicator. On the bottom with our triple fan design, you can adjust this. You can see we have ours angled up some. So if you really want to showcase some stuff, you can in this case, which is pretty neat. Now you can see the backside of our build right here. Everything looks great. Check out where we have the power supply installed. Really nice that the fan vents off to the side, so it will be able to exhaust warm air out the side panel. There is some ventilation there on the backside. You can also see front and center, we have our nice metal cover. So if you don't want to do any cable management, you don't have to. As long as it's tucked away behind this panel, nobody will be able to see it. Only you'll know if you've managed your cables or not. Then you can see we have room for additional expansion here. From my count, we can add 12. Yes, you heard me right, 12 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch drives in this case. Now you can see what the front panel looks like fully illuminated, and it looks great. That RGB on the front, so bright and really nice. You may notice too, our display is ready for us to configure, so let's do that now. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, setting up the display. You can see we have it set up right here and it looks great. Let's go into the Master Plus software from Cooler Master and see the settings that we have. So we're in the software right here. You can choose your device. So in this case, we're gonna choose our case. See what I did there? And these are all the settings that we have. So in the top right-hand corner, we can choose our LCD rotation, 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180, or 270 degrees. We have screen saving mode options, always on, sleep mode, or auto off. You can see, bottom left-hand corner, we have our LCD modes right here. First up, it's the Cooler Master logo. Next, we have our system options, CPU, GPU, multiple temps, usage, speeds. So this is cool too. You have some subsets in here depending on which one you desire. You can do that. Then you can see APM, our fan RPM, and you can choose the fan that you want, which is great for monitoring. Ping as well if you're gaming, that's cool. You can see real-time ping. Maybe set that up if you're live streaming and your fans and viewers could see that. That's pretty cool. Then we have our mic on. So a nice indicator there. Next up, time if you want a clock face, 2 different options. And you can see we can set the color, so you can configure that depending on your preferences. For this one that we have selected, we can also change the font and text color. Next up, multimedia. If you want to upload your own file here, MP4 files for video if it's under 20 megabytes. And we're showing JPEG and PNG for your images under 900 kilobytes. So you can see with a little file history here as well if you want to upload maybe a logo or a cool little animation. And then lastly, we have our multi-display. So we can set our display options right here, whatever we desire. So currently you can see we have nothing on the display. I had it set earlier for multi-display. So right in here, I want to do our CPU temp. We'll hit apply. Then we're going to do our GPU temp, hit apply. Then let's come and do our CPU speed right here. And then we're going to do our GPU clock. And then you can see, lastly, what do we want to choose here? So sometime we'll put our logo in. We can do time, mic status. Let's do system usage, and we have our RAM selected right here. Now you may notice I don't see an option for ping. It could be hidden, but I'm sad that we can't also display our ping as it cycles through. So that's definitely a miss in my book. And then you can see for our time right here, this is not the clock face that we have selected, so there doesn't appear a way to get the other clock face either, which is a bummer because that's the one I like better, that you can easily tell the time just by glancing. So let's go ahead, let's do our system usage and our RAM right there. We'll apply it. And now you can see we got our CPU temp at 31 degrees Celsius. It's going down 30 degrees Celsius. And we'll give it a second. It should cycle through. So it looks like 5 seconds. We have it at fast. So every 5 seconds, it will cycle to the next metric for us. And again, we have up to 5 we want to use. We can do that right here. So that's pretty cool. You can choose slower or faster depending on what you desire. But that's all set up and ready to go right there for us. All done right within the Master Plus software. And it's still on the CPU. Well, what are we doing here? It should be cycling through here. We'll give it a second. But it should be cycling through all the different settings for us. And again, up at the top, we can choose how fast or slow we want everything. But that's what we want. Let's exit out of the software, and maybe that will help it cycle through quicker. Oh, yep, maybe I just misread it too. It does say GPU right now, so you can see that right there. Now we're back to CPU, so it's probably been cycling through the whole time. But you can see that right there, very responsive. It looks great, so cool. that we have all of those real-time metrics for us so we can actively monitor our system just by looking at the front of our case. Really neat. Don't forget you can put your logo or video there if you want as well. Now let's talk about thermals. So first up, you can see we have all the panels on our case right here, and it's just been idling for a couple of minutes. Check out the real world results we're getting right here for our CPU. You can see our current, our minimum, our maximum, and our average. So for our core temps, you can see our current is 29 degrees Celsius, our minimum's 25, our max is 39, and our average is 29 degrees Celsius. We have a lot of additional information, so you can learn more about our memory temps. You can see our motherboard temps right here as well too. We have a lot of that information right here for you. Everything's basically averaging, I'd just say around 30 degrees Celsius. Again, this is just at idle. A little bit less for our RAM. You can see the average 28 and 26 degrees Celsius right there. Now let's go ahead, let's put it under full load for a couple of minutes and come back and see the results. So now you can see we have our CPU at 100% and it's been that way for over 5 minutes. We have all the panels on still and you can see the temperature results that we get now. So 47 degrees Celsius is our current temp at 100% load being maxed out. Our minimum 41 degrees Celsius. Our maximum, we only peaked at 54 degrees Celsius. So this is keeping everything really nice and cool. And then you can see our average is 47 degrees Celsius for our temps. And we can scroll further down and we can see some additional readings right here on the CPU. Around 50 degrees Celsius seems to be the average for some of those if we just quickly look at them. And we'll go down to our memory and our motherboard. You can see same thing right here. Looks like peaking at 49.9. Everything else is below that. High 30s or 40s. And then our RAM right now, 32 degrees Celsius and 34 degrees Celsius. And our GPU just hanging out at a nice 28.2 degrees Celsius. So I've had a great experience building in this case. This is definitely geared towards somebody that's looking for a high-end case offering you so much room and space for your custom water cooling needs. And I love all the hard drive storage options we have too. That's just so versatile, especially in the future. Well, you might want to cram all that data in now, but say you want to just make a high-end water-cooled gaming PC, couple of years you want to go a different direction, now you can repurpose this to an amazing home server. So I really, really like the utility of this case. With its sheer size and volume, there's just so much you're able to do in here. It really is almost limitless. Now, with that being said, what would I want to see improved or changed in this case in the future? Honestly, for me, the size is a little bit too big. Since I didn't do any custom water cooling, I don't need a PC this large. Someday I may end up custom water cooling it, and then I'll be happy that I have a case this big. But if you're not, Cooler Master makes other cases that are fantastic, also part of the high airflow series that you can find that aren't as large, that still give you great performance in thermals like we're seeing in this case. Other thing I want to point out for me in particular is the fact that I had trouble updating the RGB controller from the Cooler Master Plus software. So every time I went into the software, the screen worked great right out of the box, but it would prompt me to update the controller. And every time I tried, it would say it's disconnected, but it didn't make sense because it's recognizing it to tell me it needs to be updated. So that went on for a couple of days. I actually decided to reach out to Cooler Master directly from the service portal online, and I didn't like that experience. You had to create an account within Cooler Master just to get access to claim a service ticket. So I was not really a big fan of that experience, and it said it'd take them 48 hours to respond, and obviously I wanted to get that done sooner because I just built my PC, so I didn't like waiting around either. Now, while I was waiting on Cooler Master, I decided, since I tried everything else, that I was going to go ahead and update the display right here, because they do have instructions online that you can find directly from their website that are super helpful. Looks a little bit daunting at first. Trust me, it's not. It's very simple to do. Basically, download a zip file, unzip it, and then install it on your PC. It's really not that hard. So I went ahead, I did that, and ironically, as soon as I did that, then this stopped working, and Cooler Master Master Plus software said that it was out to date, which didn't make any sense because I downloaded the latest and only firmware from their website. So I restarted the computer, and then magically, it worked great again. And guess what? We were able to then update the hub as well to control all of our RGB lighting. So that was a little bit of a pain. I was expecting a better experience, especially for the price that you pay for this case. Now you might say, hey, that's definitely a con. This is too expensive. You really need to factor in everything that's included in this case, and you'll start to see it becomes a much better deal in value than maybe you initially thought. Now, the asterisk there is you actually have to use the stuff that's included. So do you want a display where you're gonna put one on your build anyways? Great. That's gonna save you some money bundled in with this case. Are you planning on mounting your GPU vertically? Well, it does come with the riser and everything that you need, and it's PCIe 4.0. That's pretty expensive as well. So it really starts to make this a more economical solution if you're already planning on buying those parts and components that I just mentioned. Also, all of that hard drive storage, very unique to this case. There's just so many options, whether it's 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch. And this is very cleverly designed, really well engineered. So when you start to think about all the different features that this case has, if you need those, again, if you need those features or planning on buying them anyways, it's really not a bad deal at all.